Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Peter, and I have the honor of being able to present to you the space development activities of the Czech Republic. I'm doing it from the point of view of industry. I have been the president of the Industry Association Czech Space Alliance since 2006. And I've been working with most of the Czech space companies during that period. At the same time, I can take a view from the institutional side, because within our equivalent of space agency, which we don't have under that name, I will discuss that later. I'm the chairman of the Industry and Applications Committee. We are working with the government to prepare space strategy, priorities, and recommend these to the government. So we mostly work with ESA, and this gives us the opportunity to participate in much larger projects than we could ever possibly think of as a small country. So a good example of that is the development of Ariane 6. It's a huge project which needs huge budgets and huge resources. So we are working as ESA suppliers a lot of the time, but again, I can look at it from the other side. For 12 years, I was an employee of the European Space Agency in Germany, working in the development of satellite control systems. So I can kind of sit on both sides of the fence. At the end of my presentation, there are some links for further information, including a downloadable catalog of Czech space companies and entities, and an email for me where you're very welcome to contact me if you have any issues that you'd like to raise. At this point, I would also like to make the announcement that we will have the honor of welcoming a high-level official delegation from Taiwan, which includes the Minister of Science and Technology, whom I had the pleasure to meet last year, and the new director of NSPO. We plan to use this occasion to sign an MOU between CIDA and the Czech Space Alliance, signed by the Director General. On one side, on our side, I have to delegate somebody because unfortunately I will be in Dubai at a space conference. And another announcement is that together with and with great support of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Czech Republic and the Czech Economic and Cultural Office in Taipei, we are planning to organize a mission of space subjects from Taiwan to Czech Republic. When I talked about this last year with some of the companies, there was certainly interest. And at this point, I would like to ask you if you are potentially interested in participating in such an event, to let me know on the address which is mentioned in the presentation. So that's all as an introduction. Let's go to the presentation. Czech. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Petr Bares, and I have the pleasure of being able to give you an outline of the way we organize our space industry activities and our work with the European Space Agency. But before I go to space, let's have a look at the map. Maybe not everyone has been to Czech Republic. We are a very small country. We say we are in the heart of Europe, and we only exist as Czech Republic since 1991, after the separation of Czechoslovakia into two parts. Peaceful separation, I need to say. Since then, also shortly before that, we got rid of the Soviet Union control, and we started moving very happily to the West, starting to join various Western associations, agencies, and activities. So the first important one was in 1999 when we joined NATO. And of course, in 2014, we joined the European Union. We do not have euro yet. This will come sometime, but at the moment we keep our currency. But the most important date in this context is our joining of the European Space Agency, which was to full extent in 2008. It's worth mentioning also that since 2012, European Union has created the headquarters of its European GNSS agency in Prague. And this has recently, a few months ago, been converted into European Union Space Programs Agency, which has got much wider scope, and I will talk about it later on. We look back in history. We have the Charles Bridge built in 1357, and this is a place where most people, most visitors to Prague come on their first trip. These are pictures of our countries from space. They look different, but more or less they are in the same scale. So you can see that our countries are similar in size, even though our land area is larger. On the other hand, your GDP per capita is much better. And this is how ESA likes to present Europe, as a continent without borders, where all companies, all countries work together on space projects without regard to languages or nationality or whatever. And this actually works more or less very well. So Czech Republic formally started working with ESA in 2005, when we joined the preparatory program before we could become members, called PEX. This program was mandated to last a minimum of 5 years. And the Czech industry was so successful that it was able to convince ESA to shorten this period. So after 4 years, we became the first member of the former Eastern Bloc to accede to the ESA Convention, which is the formal term for joining ESA. And now, 12 years later, we are capable of competing with much more experienced companies in Europe, but also we are able to gain some commercial projects in the world. This is the budget contribution of the Czech government to ESA. As you can see, it looks quite impressive. Don't worry about the dips. They don't mean a decrease in contribution. In fact, the contribution is decided every 4 years. And that block is then divided into individual years according to start or end of individual programs. So the support has been growing all along. And as you can see, from 7 to nearly 60 million in just over 10 years. And if you actually start from 2005, when we really started to work with ESA, and at that time, the budget was only 1 million. So from 1 million 2005 to 60 million 2021. And this is how the money is divided into different programs. ESA works in such a way that there is one mandatory program where everybody has to join. It's basic infrastructure, science programs, and so on. And then there are a number of programs which each country can decide if they want to join and how much money they want to contribute to it. And according to how much money they contribute, they can do more work in that area. So recently, our government decided to put a large lot into space transportation. And this was to enable us to get more heavily involved in the development of the launcher Ariane 6. And why does our government invest so much money in ESA? Well, actually, it doesn't, because the money goes back to Czech industry. The way ESA works, the contributions from member states have to go back to industry of the particular country in form of contracts. However, the contracts have to be won in tough competition. We don't get it handed on a silver plate. We compete for every work with international competitors. And if and when we provide the best bid and we win, then we have a pot of money with which the project can be financed. And working with ESA enables us to develop advanced technologies much faster than if we did it on our own, because we work together in a bigger team with bigger budgets. And as I said, the international cooperation is quite strong. It's supposed to increase our international competitiveness. In fact, this is one of the leitmotifs of the rules of ESA, and transfer of technologies to benefit citizens. And last but not least, when your country is successful in space, it immediately is regarded as a capability which shows that you can be successful in any other area of technologies. So what does ESA do most of all? Well, as I said, the main role is to stimulate the advancement of industrial competitiveness. So it issues tenders, which are very challenging, both in terms of budgets and time scales. And you have to fight with everybody else in Europe that is in your field to gain the particular project. And then, as I said, if you win it, then you have the money from your country there. Apart from that, ESA also coordinates and supports Business Incubation Center for startups, technology transfer projects, so to non-space activities, and education in space through its European Space Education Resource Office. And this is how ESA looks on the map. And you immediately note that you have Canada, which is one sign that ESA is not an EU agency. It's a club, if you like, of like-minded countries that decided to share their resources, financial, human, technological, to be able to do larger, more challenging projects. So the membership of ESA is not related to membership of EU. So Canada is a member, but also Norway and Switzerland, non-members of EU, are there. And at the same time, there are members of EU which are not in ESA. So is there an EU space agency? Most people tend to think that that was ESA, but as you can see, it is not. And in fact, nowadays there is. And it was only created a few months ago by expanding the activities of the GNSS agency, GSA, in Prague. It became EU Space Programs Agency, and it got the responsibility not only for Galileo and EGNOS, which was their role in the past, but also Earth Observation Program and GovSatcom. So the relationship or the negotiations were quite complex at time and quite long-winded, but in the end there was a clean solution, which I think is should be satisfactory for all. ESA, the non-EU agency, develops technologies, builds satellites, launches missions, proposes missions as well. And EUSPA, European Space Programs Agency, is the user and the operator. So it operates the Galileo satellites, it operates or uses the images from Copernicus, and it will operate the SATCOM as well. And the Czech space governance, well, we don't have a national space agency with that name, but we have an equivalent with a long name, Space Activities Coordination Council of the Minister of Transport. This actually has three committees: Security and International Relations, which is chaired by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs; Science Activities, obviously chaired by the Ministry of Education; and Industry and Applications, which is chaired by us, by Czech Space Alliance. And every 5 years, this body creates a national space plan, a large and complex document, which outlines the priorities, goals, sets up targets, and also estimates the budgets that will be required to achieve those goals. This is submitted to the government, and when it's approved, it becomes the book by which we go. Now we come to the industry. Czech Space Alliance is a private trade association of SMEs, small and medium enterprises. This is probably different from CIDA because you are kind of strongly linked to an SPO, if I understand it correctly, whereas we are completely independent. We have created the association on our own. We don't have any officials within the association which are from government bodies. it is purely industry. The association was established in 2006 by only 4 SMEs, in fact, micro SMEs. And now we are 16 members with some larger non-SME associated companies. And we win a large part of the Czech geo-return in ESA. The geo-return is the measure of how the money put in the ESA budget is being returned to the country. We're very active internationally, so together with the Brits and the Italians, we co-founded a mega pan-European SME for Space Association, which associates national SME association of member states. And this in turn cooperates with the association, Pan-European Association of European Large Companies, which is Eurospace. And we are also members of the International Astronautical Federation. In fact, the reason why we created the association was the difficulty we had in talking to the Czech space governance at the time, 2006, because we were small, we were new, the concept for the government was new, but when we created an association, it gave us a voice which was listened to, and we were able to meet the relevant authorities, and by now we have developed into a very good two-way communication and cooperation. So this is the internal activity which continues, and externally at the beginning we had to promote ourselves even next door to Germany and other countries because we were not known to have any skills related to space. In fact, some countries looked down at us. Oh, these people from these communist countries, what can they do? But in fact, very quickly we established ourselves as being on a level and sometimes better than the older friends. And so nowadays we are established and we focus more on building the relationship outside of Europe, Latin America, Asia, and so on. We organize industry missions abroad for our members. So we've had a mission to UK and Netherlands and Spain and Italy, but also further afield like Brazil, Japan, Canada, Thailand. And conversely, we support organization of events together with the Ministry of Transport for space companies or associations that come to Prague. So we had several visits from JAXA. Recently, we had a 20-man delegation from Thailand who spent a week going around visiting companies, looking for synergies, meeting our ministries and so on. We planned a big event with ISRO in probably next year. We also participate in and present ourselves in international space conferences, have stalls, or at least participate in exhibitions to meet future partners. Internally, as I already mentioned, we actively participate in creating the Czech space strategy. And this was, for instance, the drafting of all the industry sections of the National Space Plan. So that actually came from us, from industry. It was not mandated by the government, this is what we're going to do. But on the contrary, we said this is what we are good at, this is what the Czech Republic should support. And this more or less works. And so our wishes are regularly updated into the new versions of the national plan. We regularly participate in the meetings of the equivalent of the space agency, the coordination board. And in fact, we chair the part which is related to industry and applications. Main clients in Europe, well, obviously it's European Space Agency by far. But also we do some defense work in the Czech Republic and also in the European Union. And having developed a working relationship with companies in Europe during ESA projects, we now understand each other and often put together commercial projects where we cooperate outside of ESA. Overseas, we have clients in the US, in Japan, Korea, West Africa, and we aim to develop closer relationship with Taiwan, Thailand, and Singapore, which are in our focus at the moment. Here are some logos of companies and institutions, clients and partners. In fact, the clients sometimes become partners, partners clients. Sometimes we are subcontracting to Thales Alenia Space. Sometimes Thales Alenia Space is subcontracted to a small Czech SME. All sorts of combinations work. Now here I have a list of members. I will not go through it because it's too long. Basically, we have a group. The largest group is electronics, components, subsystems, testing equipment. Then we have software companies, ground segment, space segment, and special R&D related to optics, X-ray and acoustic optics, mechanic systems, advanced materials, nanocomposites, honeycomb, special composites, glues that can be used in space and so on. And when we were lobbying for money from the government, then we argued that according to international studies, the investment into space brings you very high returns. Some studies say up to 7 times. For every dollar you get $7 back. So this was an argument which worked, but it's coming to haunt us a bit at the moment because we're not that far yet, but the government is already expecting the returns, and they are certainly not 7-fold. But we do have, I think, very good progress. And here are some examples. In the mechanical subsystems, our member designed and developed the solar panel deployment mechanisms for Iridium Next. This was not only a large project financially and technologically, but it was also a big vote of confidence for a Czech company, because as you realize, solar panel deployment mechanism is absolutely key to the mission. So if that does not work, if it gets stuck, then the satellite becomes a new piece of space junk. And Iridium was able to give all these mechanisms to a Czech company. In software, we have managed to sell GNSS performance monitoring software within Europe, in West Africa, and also it will soon be used in Korean ESPA and the European Space Programs Agency. The company ESC has developed strong know-how in drones, and they use that in US airports. They also sell their know-how in onboard data processing software for Russian missions. Advanced materials, for me as a software guy, it seems like the easiest area where you can move from space to non-space. And indeed, they do very well. They, for instance, develop components for aircraft and for car industry and so on. Here are some examples of our international activities, meetings with the Brazilian Space Agency, the president of, former president of JAXA. On the right, you have GISTA, Thailand, at the bottom, Society of Japanese Aircraft Companies, and bottom left, Mexican Space Agency. And our member missions abroad, some are only reflected in flags, but in Brazil, we visited the research and development centers, the agency, and also the actual launch site for their rockets. And our longest, furthest mission was a mission to Mars on the right. This is a Mars landscape. In fact, it's in UK, Harwell. As you may know, Harwell is the UK center of very high level technology development, nuclear, Rutherford Institute, and also space. And they have built this Mars landscape in order to be able to test not lunar rovers, obviously Mars rovers. So yeah, this was quite a nice mission. Japan, we have participated in every Japan aerospace exhibition since 2008. I've got very good rapport with many companies, with the government and ministries. And last but not least, Taiwan. I was very lucky to be able to join the mission of Senate President Vystrčil. And apart from it being extremely pleasant and interesting, I met very nice people from very interesting companies. And as a result, since then, I'm trying to talk to our ministries and our office in Taipei to set up a mission of space entities to Czech Republic, so that we can exchange ideas and look for synergies in space projects. So together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Industry and Trade, Economic Culture Office in Taipei, and the Czech Space Alliance, we want to organize industry and academia mission to Czech Republic, where we will prepare large B2B sessions, meeting the space governance, visiting the EUSPA headquarters, and you can visit some more interesting companies. So when I was in Taipei, some of the people I met showed interest in this. And now I would like to hear from you all whether or who of you will be interested in doing this mission, provided it's at the right time and with the right conditions. So please let me know on this email, copy NSPO and our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And last, an announcement. We will welcome a very high-level Taiwanese delegation in Prague on 25th of October. And part of the delegation will be the Minister of Science and Technology and the new director of NSPO. So we plan to take advantage of this to sign an MOU between CIDA and the Czech Space Alliance. Further information on the official Czech Space website. You can download a catalog, about 100 pages of space industry academic institutions, which is published by the Ministry of Transport. And there is the website of Czech Space, which gives you information about our members. So that's all for now. Thank you very much. I look forward to meeting you in Prague. Czech.